Smash Bros is a beloved fighting series that brings all of our favorite Nintendo characters, and sometimes non-Nintendo ones, in an all-out battle. And with the next entries out this year, hype levels are high, but some fans are concerned. Just how fast is it? Supposedly it sits between Melee and Brawl, but that's what I'm here to find out. To calculate their speed differences accurately, I'll start all versions on the same frame of their attacks and finish when they return to their idle poses. In some cases the Wii U footage is cut, so I'll cut up the other versions to match the Wii U footage. The counter is also measured in seconds and milliseconds. Lastly, take this all with a grain of salt. You can only do so much without the game, obviously, but I try to make it as accurate as humanly possible. Without further ado, let's get smashing! time for the results. Out of all of the footage gathered, the game that was faster most of the time was, unsurprisingly, Melee. The game that was in the middle most of the time was not actually Wii U, but Brawl, which has Smash Wii U being the slowest out of the three. So is Smash Wii U technically slower than Brawl? Well, not exactly. Besides gameplay tests saying otherwise, so far, and this being a very small sample data compared to the full game, there were a lot of ties. I mean a lot. 1/3 of clips were tied, and because of this it can screw around with the data. In a tie there's no middle speed, you're either tied with the fastest time or with the slowest time. Here's the breakdown for the ties. Wii U was tied an equal amount for fastest and slowest times, with all three games tied for the same speed on 2 different occasions. Besides that messing around with data, you also have to acknowledge the actual time differences. While a couple of milliseconds may be noticeable, there's a lot of cases where it's only 1 or 2 milliseconds slower, and even though that makes it the slowest game of the three, it's such a small difference that you probably won't be able to tell when playing. Plus, in a lot of cases the Wii U footage was cut and I wasn't always able to measure the entire move. Here's what it looks like when a clip had to be cut to fit the Wii U footage versus what the full length would be. The fact of the matter is that some moves will be altered to be faster or slower to make each character balanced overall. And this doesn't even include running speed or physics or how floaty the game is, etc, etc. But from this small sample size, based purely on moves, is Smash Wii U faster? No. But with other factors and constant balance changes up until the release of the games, we won't really be able to know for sure. Although my data says a portion of the game is slower, I still think it'll sit between the last 2 games. Even then, I thought this was an interesting experiment to give perspective and actually see what the difference is between these games in a scientific manner. Who knew a few milliseconds could make such a difference? Hi, I'm TheMangoViking. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look into Smash Bros. If you want to know when I launch a new video, you can subscribe or follow or yada yada yada. And if you want to know my progress on new videos, you can follow me on Facebook. While I can't make huge videos like this all the time due to school, so much stress, I hope to have something out each month that blends my love of video games and humor. So until next time,